Chronicles of English Summers. And you know what? We're actually in England and we actually have a summer to be able to tell stories like this beautiful day today. And I'm going back now to 2002. I'd come back to this country. It was a gorgeous summer again, most days at least. And the typewriters were gone. The going around in the National Express buses was gone. I was not actually hosting for ESPN Star, and it was a wonderful phase, probably the most memorable phase in my broadcasting career, 2002 to 2005 or thereabouts. And what a tour it was, 2002. Of course, remembered for one of the finest test matches I've ever seen. That was at Leeds when India won. Then that NatWest final, all of which we've talked about in Your Memories, My Stories. Also seeing a young Parthiv Patel. I was walking by the St. James Court Hotel, and I saw this little child wearing a blazer. And I thought, how sweet is this schoolboy who's come to meet the players, obviously his heroes, but he's wearing his school blazer. How sweet is that? And I walked a couple of yards, and like they do in the movies, you just stop and you look back. And I thought, he's wearing an India blazer. I said, Dad couldn't have given it to him. And then I came back and said, golly, this is our wicketkeeper. That is how young Parthiv Patel looked. He was 16. Most people who claim to be 16 look about 25. Parthiv Patel was 16 and he looked 12. And what? A few weeks later, he was saving a test match for India with his batting. It was wonderful to see. But the story I remember from 2002 was of my travels with Sidhu around the country. We were both vegetarian. We'd go searching for vegetarian food everywhere. And Sidhu, apart from his great instinct for words, also had a great ability to know where vegetarian food was available. And so one day I've come back to our hotel. It was the Lumley Castle Hotel in Durham. Remember the haunted hotel we were staying there? I've come back there and he says, Guru, aaj khane ke liye hum Newcastle ja rahe hain. I said, Sherry bhai, Newcastle to kitna dur hai? Nahi, hum Newcastle ja rahe hain, wo hamare dost aaye hue hain. So we drove all the way to Newcastle. As soon as dinner was over, of course, Sidhu left and we came back together. By then it's dark. And as we entered the Lumley Castle Hotel, there were all these busts of maybe previous inhabitants of the castle. The light shining only on the bus, everything else is dark. And the wooden floors were squeaky. So as me and Sherry are walking, we go and only the lights on those buses. It was so spooky. We finally got to Sherry's room. You had to go through a library, and his was the only room connected through the library. And just to scare him, I switched off the light, and guess what? The light never came on again, and he didn't enjoy it at all. So we were sitting there, and he said, "Guru, ye kahan aa gaye hum? Ye yaar, ye kya hai? Whatever." I said, "Chalo, enjoy karte hain." He said, "Chal, Dadi ko darate hain." Now, Sidhu and Ganguly have shared rooms in the past, so we could do that. And so we found out which room he was in. And as we are going, we see Mohammad Kaif going with a bat, so we just sort of smile and nonchalantly we're around. Can you imagine two very grown-up men with grown-up children going around trying to scare somebody? And so then we went outside Ganguly's room, and Sidhu and me going, woo, trying to pretend to be children all over again. And we didn't get any response from inside. And we kept on, we knocked on the door, and after a while, Ganguly opened it. And guess what he was doing? He was sitting there on the ground with 8 bats, and he was sitting and repairing bats. And we said, "See, we scared you." He said, "No, I've known Sidhu for a long time, so I don't know what the background to that was." But it just tells you that on tour, when relationships between players and the media are very different from what they are now, you could actually afford to play pranks like these. Now, what happened after that? We've come back to our room and Sidhu can't find his room because it's dark. Remember, the light in the library is gone. And literally we walked together carefully, opened his door, switched on the light, and never stayed in Lumley Castle again. It was genuinely spooky. I don't believe in ghosts. I don't believe in anything of any sort of that nonsense. But that hotel, with the creaky floors and the light on those busts, is a memory I do not want to have again. It was a great cricket tour. I remember it for a lot of things that happened on the cricket. But me and Sidhu walking with tiptoe not to make noise in that castle in Lumley in Durham was a memory that I'll keep with me for a long time.